Good evening. I am Anitra Steele, Chair of the Forums Committee. Welcome to our forum for Jackson County Executive. This forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Kansas City, Jackson, Clay, and Platte counties. The forum is recorded and will be available on the League's website, lwvkc.org, and on YouTube. The League of Women Voters is a trusted grassroots, nonpartisan organization whose members do the hands-on work to safeguard democracy. While we neither endorse nor oppose candidates or issues or political parties, we are directly involved with sharing the important issues. Our mission is to empower voters and to defend democracy. We envision a democracy where every citizen has the knowledge, the right, the desire, and the confidence to participate. Our membership is open to everyone. I'd like you to know the other League members volunteering with me. Cindy Schmidt is our timekeeper, and our Zoom is monitored by Lenny Constance. The public has sent in the questions via the League's website, lwvkc.org. Tonight, we welcome our moderator, Sandy Eads, a member and past president of our League.
Thank you, Anitra. I'm delighted to join you candidates for the forum tonight for Jackson County Executive. Now, Jackson County voters elect a chief executive who serves as the chief administrative officer and heads the county executive branch of the government. This position appoints and supervises the directors of various administrative departments, and the county executive is elected at large and serves a 4-year term. Tonight, we'll hear from the candidates running for Jackson County Executive. Forums last approximately 90 minutes. I'll ask each candidate the same question selected from those submitted by the public. And we always put the order of candidate questions in a random rotation, so nobody's first or last all the time. Each candidate will be given 90 seconds to respond to each question, and at the end, 2 minutes for a closing statement. All of the candidates running for this position have been invited, and we welcome the candidates tonight who are participating in the forum. Just as a matter of policy, please answer the question asked and stick to the topic. We don't have time for rebuttals, but if there is anything you would like to rebut, maybe that's your closing statement would be the appropriate place for that. So it's time to get to the questions. And Stacy Lake, we're going to start with you. And the first question is this: please introduce yourself and discuss your qualifications to serve as the executive of the Jackson County Legislature.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stacy Lake, and I am running for Jackson County Executive. You might have heard of my name before because I ran in 2022 against Frank White and narrowly lost the Democratic primary by 4 percentage points. But hopefully I can earn your vote today and overcome the barrier and become your next county executive. Now, as far as my qualifications go, I've been an attorney for 12 years. Before then, I was a Chinese translator, and I have a degree in finance and a minor in Chinese languages and cultures. I have conducted multiple investigations against corporations for financial compliance, and I have the ability and means to implement my Jackson plan to reform and modernize the Jackson County government so it finally works for its residents' needs. The Jackson Plan is an acronym that stands for Justice System Reform, auditing Jackson County government, investing in countywide infrastructure improvements, keeping property taxes affordable so that we will never have another property tax crisis again, supporting our small business community in Jackson County that has historically never been supported by our local government. The O stands for Ownership Initiative for Single-Family Households, which is my policy platform to promote policies to make single-family home ownership attainable for our future generations. And the N is a Neighbor to Transportation Plan, which is my promise to create the first countywide public transportation system in Jackson County that will connect the majority of the cities together through rapid bus transit line.
Thank you, Stacy. Mr. Osborne Holmes, you're up next.
My name is Holmes Osborne. I'm an elected official trustee at the Metropolitan Community College. I've been in Missouri politics for about 16 years. I've run several times for other things. My background is in finance. I went to a top tier business school. I hold the Chartered Financial Analyst designation. I've been featured in the Wall Street Journal 3 times. I've written for websites such as The Motley Fool and thestreet.com. You will almost never find someone with these qualifications who's crazy enough to get into politics. People who do this for a living don't want to get screamed at on the doorstep and deal with phone calls, but I do. And I've done this many times before. And Jackson County needs a lot of work. And we're always talking about high assessments and high taxes. I haven't taken any money from anybody who wants TIFs, who wants to build new stadiums, who wants to build new data centers. You can't just look at our taxes and wonder why they're so high. There's a reason why our taxes are so high. And I'm not taking money from any of these groups. I'm only taking money from friends and family. Finance is the biggest problem, as everybody knows, the Jackson County. And that's my background. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Dan Tarwater, I'm sorry. You're up next.
Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you for putting this on this evening. I am Dan Tarwater, running for Jackson County Executive. And I do have qualifications for this job because, yes, I did serve on the legislature in many capacities, also as chairman of the legislature in the past. I've been gone for a little while now, and it saddened me to see how much Jackson County had fallen. Jackson County needs to get back to doing the things that they do, but more importantly, to do them right. So yes, we assess properties, and we need to get that part done. I will, on day one, be able to correct those things. Phil Laboda does have a plan that is out there right now. If that stays legal, then great. Let's go with that. Otherwise, I have a plan to put in place to also address any situation where there might be a lawsuit, so that people can actually get their monies back that were illegally collected from them and illegally done. I also have a track record of working with everyone. Doesn't matter what is behind your name as far as a D or an R, or what position in life you're in. I am able to bring people together. And that is what is solely needed in Jackson County right now, is for people to work together for a common good and actually help the taxpayer. So there is no learning curve. I would be able to go in there. I would have everyone in place before January 1st, 2027, to be able to hit the ground running and actually return Jackson County to being Jackson County and helping the taxpayer, not just in certain areas, but all of Jackson County. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Baird, your introduction and your approach.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me or having this forum for us. My name is Bill Baird. I'm running for the county executive as well. I think you've heard we want to address the property tax issue. That's got to be priority one, day one. My experience is I've been a 2-term mayor of the city of Lee Summit. Before that, I was a school board member. Career-wise, I started out teaching, and then I got into real estate, residential, and then into commercial real estate. With regard to my experience as mayor, Lee Summit's been a fantastic suburb to be a part of. But I will tell you that I've helped make it and build one of the safest cities in Missouri. And I want to take that experience to the county and build safer and healthier Jackson County. We also have one of the most amazing economies in Missouri, and we've been blessed with a lot of different types of residential. We've diversified that residential during my time as mayor, and we've expanded our tax base and brought commercial. We've brought jobs, and we've attracted all kinds of experiential retail. So I would like to get to the county and start talking about economic development as well as public safety and after fixing the tax issue. So I'm looking forward to that. I appreciate your time here today, and I can answer questions.
Thanks very much. Holmes, we're going to start with you for number 2. The executive cannot govern alone. Please describe how you would work with the county legislature that may disagree with you. Can you give an example of how you build consensus?
Well, I'm one of 6 selected members of the community college board, and we deal with a pretty large budget. It's $150 million, and the county deals with a budget of around $600 million. And you have to get to know these folks. I have to get to know the 5 other board members of the community college and the chancellor and all of the presidents. And it's the same thing with the legislature. You've got legislatures and you've got heads of departments. And then, of course, you have many, many mayors around Jackson County, and then counties surrounding the area, and then the sheriff. The sheriff's actually in charge of a lot of what we do. Is the sheriff's in charge of the sheriff's department and the jail. And you have to get along with all these people. As a matter of fact, a lot of my platform would need the sheriff to sign off on a lot of my ideas, because he would have to do these ideas. And it's votes. You have to get votes, just like in Washington, D.C. or Jefferson City. And if you can't get the votes to do something, then it's going to fail. So you have to get along with these folks. You have to earn their respect. It looks like in the recent past, we've had these problems here in Jackson County, and we had kind of an implosion. And now, we've got 6 people running for this new position. And, it's a full-time job. You have to get to know these folks. I think Phil Lavota's done a pretty good job in the interim, getting to know everybody and earning everyone's respect with a lot of his plans.
Thanks very much. Dan, I'm going to get that right eventually. Dan Tarwater.
By the end,
my apologies.
we're all good. You can call me Dan. I do have the experience of working with a number of different people. In the past, there was always that one person who wanted to be a maverick and be out there on their own. And typically they did not get anything done. They would come back in to the fold, and we'd all work together for the common good. Here recently, it's like we have 9 mavericks and nothing is getting done. So yes, the key is to sit down with each legislator before we get into office, talk with them, see what their needs are. But it's also returning the power back to the legislature. I have no idea how Frank White was able to consolidate all that. A legislator is elected in a district, at least 6 of them are, and therefore they're the closest to the voter. They're the closest to the taxpayer in that area. They know. So therefore, I will empower them to talk and work with every single director that is out there so that they can help their area. I would be, the supervisor or the overlooking quarterback, whatever you want to call it, to help them get things done. But it's about empowering other people and all of us working to that common goal, which is actually, we can do that, and we can do it right away. There will always be outliers. There will always be people that disagree. But as long as we do it, in a reasonable fashion, that's okay. And let's find out what people want and need. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Bill.
Okay. I think you asked about how to work with the legislature, and I will
Yes.
to that first. So when I became mayor, I've been through this before, had a very divided council. And when you want to bring people together, you've got to find common ground. You've got to find common denominators. What can we start working together on with as a team? And I know it sounds pretty simple, but at the same time, the key is to try to get everybody to not see it as ideological, but to see it as we have shared values. We have shared values of integrity. We have shared values of respect. Let's do this respectfully. Responsibility and accountability. Those are shared values, and fairness. And so you rally around those types of things, and you talk about what it is that you can give on your side, and to try to get people to come closer to you. I've always been pretty good at bringing people together around a common purpose. It helps to have, if you're outside of the legislature, when we talk about the cities and the schools and everybody, we need to do the same thing. We need to offer them a seat at the table. We need to bring them in and have them understand that we do want to listen. We do want to work together. We want to partner. And the same thing goes for the nonprofits and all the stakeholders and the citizens. So when people of different backgrounds, ideas, demographics all come together for a shared purpose, achievements can be accomplished.
Thank you very much. Stacy, your take on this?
Yes, so as I said before, I've been an attorney for 12 years and I've run my own law practice for 8 years. And one thing that a lot of people don't really know about the legal world is only 3% of all cases actually go to trial. 97% of cases are litigated out of court before it has to go to trial. And so an attorney's main job essentially is to be a mediator, which is actually a very difficult job to do because as an attorney, I always joke with people and say, your client hates you, the opposing counsel hates you, and the judge hates you. But you have to take all these parties' interests in mind and settle a case 97% of the time. So how do you actually achieve this? And from my experience, I've learned that it's achievable through collaboration, listening, and building relationships. And one thing that we have to know is what people's needs and desires are. Once we know what a person, like for instance, a legislator's number one goal is, then we can work on the collaboration part and be like, hey, I understand that you might not like this initiative, but I know that you want to get this initiative passed through. What can we do to meet in the middle in order to get the best plan together for Jackson County? And that's essentially what I'm going to do as your next Jackson County executive.
Thanks very much. Dan, the next question is, much of the job of the legislature has to do with allocating large sums of money. What experience do you have with making decisions about the allocations of large sums of money?
I mean, just from my experience of being a legislator in the past, we dealt with large sums of money. It's even grown bigger now. It's $540 million that Jackson County controls. Most of that, goes to the courts, goes to the sheriff's department, goes to the prosecutor's office, and then yes, outreach in different areas. The legislature always had about $3 million that was allocated to different programs in their district. I can see increasing that by a little bit because that's been that way for a long time now. And that money in a bank does not help people. Money out on the street will. Also work with the prosecutor because there's $38 million in combat right now. Originally, it was for all just anti-drug. 50% of it had to go to prevention and treatment. And now it's also anti-violence. So therefore, we need to make sure that that money too gets out into the neighborhoods, gets out on the street, and helps people, to actually better their lives. So I have done it. I will continue to do it. But once again, it's working with the legislature. This is not a decision made by just a county executive. It is all of us working together.
Thanks very much. Stacy, your take?
Yes. So as I said before, I've run my own practice for 8 years. And as an attorney, I've conducted multiple investigations into corporations for financial compliance. And the A in my Jackson plan stands for Audit Jackson County Government, which is my promise to conduct the first deep scale audit of Jackson County government, where I'm going to hire an independent auditing firm to go in department by department to find out how our tax dollars are being utilized and make sure that our next budget efficiently and effectively utilizes each of our taxpayer dollars for our residents' needs. It's no surprise to a lot of people that Jackson County government has been basically in a state of poor financial compliance for decades. As we all know, our last state auditor or democratically elected state auditor, Nicole Galloway, gave Jackson County government a poor rating after she conducted a partial audit on Jackson County government, where one of her massive findings was that Jackson County's government budget was off by $100 million. And this wasn't $100 million that the Jackson County government was overspending each year. This was $100 million that the Jackson County government just didn't know that they had, that was sitting in our bank accounts for years. That is unacceptable. And that is what will change once I become your next Jackson County executive.
Thank you very much. Holmes, big money.
$150 million budget at the Metropolitan Community College. We have 6 months in reserves. During COVID, right in the middle of COVID, at the worst time, we actually did a $40 million municipal bond offering. And I was incredibly worried at the time and thought that it was a bad thing to do. And then I called around to my friends, and because interest rates were so low, we saved the school probably close to $1 million a year. And we were able to build all these magnificent structures. Then my day job, I'm a financial advisor. For almost 30 years, I've managed people's money. I'm the guy who chooses how much money sits in stocks and bonds and cash and gold and all of these various things. Before COVID, we were very fortunate. We held a lot of safe investments. The markets dropped about 35% in just a few months. We were able to sidestep a lot of that and buy some investments as they got beaten down. During the financial crisis of 08 and 09, we also held a lot of safe investments. Our accounts went down, but just not as much as everybody else's. During the absolute nadir of the financial crash in 08 and 09, the markets were down over 60%, and we weren't down anywhere close to that. So I'm used to managing people's money and make sure that they are able to have a solid nest egg during their golden years.
Thank you. Bill, wrap this one up.
Thank you. Well, I have a tremendous amount of experience balancing budgets of well over $100 million annually. We've balanced our budget every single year whenever I was mayor. I think that what the general public doesn't often know is there's typically a general operating budget, and then there's a bunch of capital improvement buckets of funding that are specifically to go towards certain types of infrastructure and such. And those were in the hundreds of millions. Over the course of 8 years, we spent billions with a B on infrastructure. We did do a $187 million no tax increase bond in 23, I believe. And that's been critical in providing infrastructure needs, roads, stormwater, as well as joint operations safety center. These are large projects, and these dollars, when they come from, depend on how you, if it's a no tax increase bond or if it's your general operations budget, you have to spend these dollars specifically per state law. And I do have a bunch of experience there with regard to that. And I think that the county struggles with following best practices. Their budget, you can't tell if it's a balanced budget or not in the last 10 years. And I would probably argue that it has not been balanced. So.
Thanks very much. Bill, we're going to stay with you for the next one.
Okay.
And it's kind of on that money topic again. Jackson County has faced years of controversy over property assessments. What specific steps would you take to restore public confidence in the county's property assessment system while ensuring assessments are fair and accurate?
Okay, well, fair and accurate is really, that's the key. You want stability, you want certainty for the taxpayers. Nobody should be priced out of their home that they've spent a lifetime trying to own outright. I think that the key is, if you look at the past behaviors of the county, they have not followed laws. There are laws in place. The State Tax Commission has sent out orders explaining exactly how to follow these laws. Inspections are to be done if there's an assessment increase above 15%. All these inspections were not done. In fact, there were 50,000 tax appeals on assessments. That's because they didn't do all these inspections. There's not supposed to be excessive increases like this. These laws, these processes, such as the inspections, such as there are other protections I'll get to in a second, but these are meant to protect homeowners or property owners from excessive increases. And the county went around them for whatever reasons that they want to give in the past, trying to get things closer to fair market value and such. The key is specific steps, follow the laws explicitly, do all of the inspections. You can't do 50,000 inspections in 1 year, so you shouldn't have really any increases above 15%. We stabilize that, and when you do, it's going to stabilize it for everyone, not just taxpayers, but also the taxing jurisdictions. They will have certainty so they can do their budgeting based off of that.
Thank you very much. Holmes?
Well, first of all, let me say I'm very pleased with the job Phil Lavoda is doing, and he's come up with some plans that will mitigate some of the pain that folks have been suffering from this fiasco that we faced. Tyler Technologies, I've looked into them, $17 million. These guys don't seem to do any more than a few tech kids would out in the garage. I don't know why we wasted so much money on them. But there's two teams in this whole thing. It's team taxpayer and team tax user. And I'm on team taxpayer. You can't please everybody. I want lower taxes. Now I'm going to take this question, just go in a slightly different direction. TIFs. We've had so many different TIFs that have failed recently. Who ends up with that? The Jackson County taxpayer. The Costco TIF downtown, this TIF on the AI Center in Independence, this brand new 1,000-acre TIF in Lee Summit. The taxpayer ends up seeing his or her taxes driven higher because of these things. And who's pouring money into these big building projects to build new stadiums, to move the Royals and to move the stadiums? The heavy constructors, Freedom Inc., all of these organizations want to build, baby, build. Just like the Republicans used to say, drill, baby, drill. We've got a wing of the Democratic Party in Jackson County that says build, baby, build.
Thank you. Stacy?
Yeah, so in 2019, the property tax crisis affected myself and my neighborhood in the greater Kansas City area at large. That's why in 2022, I ran against Frank White. I was the only person that challenged Frank White specifically to prevent another property tax crisis from happening again. And as your next Jackson County executive, the first thing I'm going to do in the first 100 days of office is I'm going to appoint an assessor. We have an election for an assessor in 2028. But the thing is until then, we don't have an assessor. We haven't had an appointed assessor, and it's already been over 250 days. So I'm going to resolve that. Two, as I said, I'm going to audit Jackson County government. I'm going to audit the assessment department and reform the assessment department to make sure that the people working in the assessment department are actually following the laws and procedures when it comes to assessing our 300,000 parcels that the Jackson County government is responsible to assess each year. But Holmes also touched upon this, is Tyler Technologies. As your next Jackson County executive, I'm going to sever our relationship with Tyler Technologies. So Tyler Technologies basically does the most important aspect of our assessments, which is they conduct the mass appraisals. But Tyler Technologies is owned by BlackRock Corporation that basically has a financial incentive to increase our property values in Jackson County. That's a conflict of interest, and I'm going to sever that conflict of interest as your next Jackson County executive.
Thank you. Dan, wrap this one up.
Okay. I agree with the Tyler Technology piece. We should throw them out. There is something that we're going to have to work through, and that is Tyler Technology, by being in there, has control of the data. So we would need to make sure we get that data back first. They have $150 million in a insurance policy that we can go after to recover some of the taxpayers' money, because their assessment was not only wrong, but also where they paid it out was wrong. So therefore, they do have some skin in this game, and we need to take it from them. I too would hire an assessor, but it would be on day one, because we'll be working on that right after this election. And that person not only is CPA, but they're also going to be someone that's in touch with the taxpayers, that has helped fight this, so they can understand what people have gone through in this process by fighting their taxes. I will also remove the Board of Equalization out from under the assessor's office, because they shouldn't chuck their own work. We need to have an independent body doing that. And also, reform that whole department, including the assistant director and the director, and get the right people in there that's all working, together for the common good.
Thank you. Holmes, question number 5. Artificial intelligence data centers have stirred up controversy in Jackson County and elsewhere. What involvement of the county do you feel is appropriate? Would you use tax incentives to support the building and running of such centers?
Hell no, I'd never use tax money for centers. Before I got into this election and they started to build this AI Center in Independence, I used my financial background and went through a 400-page prospectus offered by Nebius. And I've told this story over and over again, and I'll tell it again. Nebius is a very small company. The city of Independence actually will own a 2.1 million square foot building. Nebius is going to have to compete with the big boys like Amazon and Meta for microchips and hardware in this massive building. And if they can't keep up with the building, or if there's some type of bear market in AI, the city of Independence is going to get stuck with this massive building. I've already used my position as community college trustee. I've written letters. I've already 2 or 3 days ago, I sent out a robocall against the city of Lee Summit, trying to do this taxpayer boondoggle. So I am not afraid to jump in anything that's happening anywhere in Jackson County that I think is to the detriment of the people of Jackson County. And obviously, I'm not going to use any taxpayer. I'm not against AI, and I'm not against AI centers. I'm against this particular AI deal from the company. This thing may be great in a rural area down the Ozarks with a little county that's hurting for money, but here in Jackson County, it's not a good deal.
Thank you. Bill, your AI thoughts?
Sure. Well, first off, there's a moratorium that's in place, the legislature put in place on AI centers, and I'm supportive of that because Jackson County hasn't done any kind of comprehensive planning to talk about where anything would go, whether that be residential, commercial, data centers, you name it. And I think that's pretty amazing. That's how cities figure out where they want the type of residential or commercial products to go. The county needs to do strategic planning. They need to follow that with comprehensive planning. There's not a lot of space, a very small percentage of land inside the county that is not in a municipality that's unincorporated. So in those locations, that's where the jurisdiction of the county could come into play. I wouldn't be for any data center that would be by residential. I wouldn't be for any data center that's going to not mitigate for all of the environmental pollutions, including the water pollutions, including the sound pollutions, and even the visual aesthetics of it. I do think that it's going to be more of a municipality decision-making point when it comes to where these decisions are made. And as a former mayor that constantly dealt with Jackson County, it's not really Jackson County's role to tell the cities how to do things. So I think that we can be supportive or advocate for or against, but we can't overstep our boundaries.
Thank you. Stacy.
Yeah, so I've made my position clear on AI data centers is I'm 100% against using any taxpayer incentives, tax dollars, or public funds to use to develop AI data centers or bring in AI data center industry into Jackson County. Now, when it comes to the question as to whether or not I would be supportive of a ban on AI data centers in Jackson County, I think that is a question that needs to be answered by a vote of the people and not by the Jackson County executive or the Jackson County legislature in general. I believe that Jackson County's future is far greater than AI data centers that there's been multiple studies that have shown that AI data centers basically has negative effects on our public health, on our environment, and would make our utility bills skyrocket. And I will say this, as the Jackson County executive, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that the Jackson County executive is the de facto mayor of unincorporated Jackson County, which oversees a lot of land in Jackson County. It's basically the land that is not incorporated by the cities, right? And so I want to protect those people in Eastern Jackson County or in the unincorporated areas of Jackson County. And I know that they do not want AI data centers in their area, and I will not promote policies to make AI data centers happen in those areas.
Thanks very much. Dan, you want to wrap up AI here?
Once again, AI is not necessarily a bad thing. It's got a lot of advantages that we'll see in the future. The data centers themselves, I am 100% behind not using any tax dollars for them. I am behind the moratorium. But to Bill's point, that moratorium is only for unincorporated areas of Jackson County. So therefore, Jackson County's got to do a much better job of working with each individual city's mayor and their council to make sure that we all get to the same page, because we do not have the authority over each of the cities when it comes to the moratorium. But I'm all in favor of extending that moratorium in the areas of Jackson County that we can legally, because let's let other people try it. Let's other people work the kinks out. And then when that's all done and it makes sense, then we can look at doing that. But we're not going to do it to the detriment of the schools, the libraries, mental health, all the other things that money will be taken from. So I would not support any data center incentives.
Thank you. Stacy, you're going to pick up question 6 here. According to the county charter, which was passed in 2010, quote, from time to time, but no less often than every 10 years, the county executive shall provide for a charter review commission to review this charter. So, in quote, 16 years later, no charter review has been ordered. As county executive, will you commit to creating a commission to review the charter? If so, how will you go about finding this volunteer group?
Yes, I will do a charter review. I will do a charter review within the first year of being elected as Jackson County executive. Our charter is so outdated. There are a lot of sections in our charter that needs to have clarification. But when it comes to building the committee, it needs to be a Jackson County forward approach where we basically have community leaders that are around the entire Jackson County area that are represented, not just in the Kansas City areas, and certainly not in the solely in the incorporated areas of Jackson County. And when I'm talking about community leaders, I'm talking about people that have a variety of different backgrounds. So we would have lawyers, nonprofit leaders, community activists, people that will give a variety, that have different life experiences and different viewpoints on what areas they believe that our charter can be improved on. But of course, as your next Jackson County executive, and also as an attorney by trade, I'm going to be overseeing the entire process to make sure that our charter is legally compliant as well.
Dan, your thoughts?
I too would do it within the first year. It could be argued that actually it was done, and it was 2017, 18, somewhere around there. The voters actually went to the voters because Frank White would not do a charter review. So the legislature put it together, sent it out to voters. They did change the charter for the prosecutor and for the sheriff's department to move some things out of the county executive purview. But I would call on each individual legislator to submit names so that these names would come from different parts of the county and bring them in as part of the process, and probably run it through Mark so that we would be able to, have an institute that actually would be able to keep it controlled and get actually work done. But there are 6 districts, so let's get at least one person from each of those districts, and let's run it through Mark. And let's get this charter review done. Yes, there are some things that need to be codified, because looking at what the previous administration of the White administration was able to do, that is uncalled for and never should have happened that way. So those things need to be tightened up, and I will get that done within the first year.
Thank you. Holmes?
I've read through the charter, and in regards to having a new revision of the charter, that's fine. As you can probably guess, I have very specific views on the county, and the people whom I would put on the board to review the charter would have to want to fight crime. Kansas City and Jackson County are still high crime areas. We've got high taxes. Okay. We've talked about that over and over again. TIFs, the stadium's, it's not really part of the charter, but moving around the stadiums isn't something that pleases me. Over the years, the commission has actually lost a lot of power. We used to have the jails under us, but we've lost that. We used to have combat under us, and we've lost that to the prosecuting attorney's office. And that's a problem. Are we going to bring it back? Probably not. Do we need to bring it back? Probably not. But to sum up the question that you asked me, I would put people on the board who view Jackson County close to the same way that I do.
Thank you. Bill.
Okay, thank you. When it comes to the charter review being every 10 years, charter reviews, strategic planning, those types of things are critical for a government entity's success. And the charter review deals with structure and how things are going to be, how decision making is made, and how what the checks and balances are. This absolutely, like you've heard from everyone, needs to be addressed. I think that as far as putting together a charter review, you need buy-in from all the stakeholders. And it's really critical. You've not seen buy-in a whole lot over the last 10 years from the legislature and the executive. They don't get on the same, they haven't in the past gotten on the same page. And it's really, really critical that they do get on the same page. So as far as picking the different people, we do need the diversity. You need the different demographics and different backgrounds and different expertise and such. But you also need those to come from some of the legislature, the executive. You have to, when you do a charter review, Lee Summit's going through one right now. You have to get your staff. They have to really load up and be prepared. They're going to be providing information, but the executive needs to. They can help set it all up, but they need to take a back seat when it comes to the decision making in that charter review. That's why you've seen past executives not want to do them.
Thanks very much, Bill. We're going to stay with you for the next one. With the loss of Arrowhead Stadium and the relocation of Kaufman, what do you envision for the Truman Sports Complex?
Okay, well, I think that there's two options. We've all been running for office for a little while now, so we've had time to think about this and such. And I know that it's a great location. It's phenomenal access in the Kansas City Metro, 435 and 70. And it's really so sad that it's not, we don't have the Chiefs and the Royals are moving because it's a great venue for destination or to be an event center location, that is. And so we can I'm open to pursuing it as the same thing and such. I think they're really hard to replace, but I think that you bring the experts in from around the country, other metros that have experienced these types of losses, and see what they've done, and we try to do something special and unique here. However, there is another option, and it is not as simple as what some people have tried to say, which is dropping some commercial mixed use in there where you've got some different maybe apartments and retail. This is way too big. This is 400 acres plus the surrounding area around it has not been developed. There's been no strategic planning in this location. They should have been strategic planning this. We should have been strategic planning this 20 years ago so that we'd be prepared for today. We need to start planning for 20 years from now. We need to talk about phasing this and coming up with a beautiful plan that can be executed for the next couple of decades.
Thanks. Dan, your thoughts?
Yes. We need to bring in all the stakeholders, which would be the mayors of the cities that surround it, along with people in Jackson County. And let's do, like right now they have a commission put together. I would continue that commission to see what can be done out there. Right now, both of these leases, they have a 5-year extension. There are 2 of them. So therefore, these teams could end up being here for another 10 years after 2031. This was addressed in 2005 when the vote was done to redo both of the stadiums. We brought a consulting firm in from Chicago and one from New York, both experts. They both came back and said this area can't be developed around the stadiums with the stadiums there because it was event driven and not destination. So We did try in the past to develop that, but we also do need to look 20 years in the future. What are we going to do with that place out there? It is 402 acres. It is prime real estate as far as highway access and other things. And yes, we could do mixed use development and other things, but we also need to be very careful and cognizant of what will work there. And that's by bringing in the experts. And I would do that.
Thank you. Holmes, how do you see the Truman Sports Complex?
Well, these aren't done deals. The Royals and Chiefs, that's not 100%. There's been a huge movement to keep them here, and I've actually joined in on that movement. And it's has bipartisan support from people across the metro area, Democrats and Republicans. I think that when people come to their senses, Kansas City isn't going to waste all that money on a new stadium, and Kansas isn't going to want to waste all the money on a new stadium for the Chiefs. This little area out in Wyandotte County for 10 games a year isn't going to produce enough income to support $2 billion in municipal bonds. I'm in that business. Logic says just leave the stadiums where they are, get the Chiefs to agree to stay longer, allow us to take money and put it back into the stadiums. Once upon a time, the county actually got quite a bit of money to put into the stadiums, and that came to a conclusion through some bad negotiations. And then the Chiefs and Royals actually got a hold of the money and wasted on things that wasn't supposed to go to, such as uniforms. And that's why a few years ago, the players were always complaining to the Hunts about the football players were at the Chiefs about the locker rooms because they didn't put money back into Arrowhead. So this deal is not it's not a done deal, and this has become the cornerstone of my political campaign. And I'm not taking money from the heavies or any of these groups that have spent money on this program.
Thanks, Stacy. How do you see it?
Yeah, if both teams decide to leave, we have to face the reality of what are we going to do with that area without any tenants that could actually fill those stadiums. Every year, I believe we spend around $34 million just to maintain both of those stadiums, and the 3/8 sales tax that we use to generate revenue to pay for that maintenance is going to run out in 2031. One thing that I want to do is I want to create a team to research the best use of that area. I really do want to go out to the neighborhoods surrounding that area because I feel that those neighborhoods have been ignored for so many years, and their wants and desires for what they want to do in that area needs to be heard. But if I had a choice on what I would specifically would do is I think that the Truman Sports Complex is a great location for a transit hub that would be supported by mixed use development in the area. As you may know, with the stadiums not being there anymore, we could use the Rock Island corridor to essentially connect Independence and Grandview together and promote public transportation in Jackson County. And so that's one of the things that I would like to look into, but I'm not going to make any decision on the area unless I get the community support first.
Thank you very much. Dan, the next one, I'm going to jump over a couple here and go to this one. There are 4 ballot measures from the legislature on the August ballot. And I'm going to ask you about the 2 most controversial ones. First, Amendment 4 would require that ballot measures submitted by citizens could only pass if they achieved a majority vote in each of the 8 congressional districts. Amendments from the legislature would only require a simple majority of all voters. What is your position on Amendment 4?
On Amendment 4, my personal, I don't want to tell anybody how they should vote, but I will tell you how I'm going to vote. Is that's taking power away from the people. One of the best explanations I heard was like if you had 7 friends, so the 8 of you wanted to go out to dinner, and one person says, "I'm not really hungry." No one gets to go eat. So that is what Amendment 4 will do. You could have a small district down in Cape Girardeau that overrides everything that the cities want to do. So that is a bad, bad plan. And it's basically taking the power away from the voters, taking the power away from the people, and giving it, to some bureaucrats that don't have your or my interest at heart. So it's a no.
Well, Holmes, how do you see Amendment 4?
I always confuse the two. I can't remember if it's hell no and no, or if it's no and hell no.
Is that your final answer?
You got it.
Well, we got plenty of time now. Stacy, how about you on Amendment 4?
Amendment 4 is an abomination. It literally, a lot of people like to talk about the whole aspect of the minority rule. Essentially, that one of the congressional districts, if an initiative petition doesn't pass in one of the congressional districts, it will not pass statewide, even if the majority of the voters vote for this initiative petition. A lot of people talk about that aspect, but the other thing that I think needs to have more discussion or more alarm bells ringing off is how they're expanding the criminality on petition signature fraud in that amendment. So they're basically expanding the criminal penalties for signers of initiative petitions, petition signature gatherers, and the petition submitters. And so basically, and that's why I advise everyone to actually read the amendment itself. But to give you an example, you can be committing petition signature fraud if you were taken off the rolls of the Missouri voters. So you know how sometimes the Secretary of State takes people off the rolls and they don't know about it. If you then sign an initiative petition, you are going to be committing a petition signature fraud, because it's now a criminal act to sign an initiative petition if you are not a registered Missouri voter. And so we need to protect our people from that. So please, like I said, read Amendment 4 and vote no, and tell your friends and family members to vote no as well.
Before I move on, I want to notice that we're not seeing the timer. So
Sorry. Got it.
No worries. All right. So next up on this is Bill.
Yeah, I agree. Vote no on 4. It's not a democratic. It doesn't follow democratic principles. I'm amazed that the state puts these things forward. When we're trying to make good decisions here at the local level, and it just seems like the state doesn't support governance that's closest to the people. They continue to try to find ways to take power away from cities, counties, and such. And I'm certainly against Amendment 4 and agree with my colleagues here.
Thanks very much. Stacy, we're going to go to you, and we're going to jump to Amendment 5. Amendment 5 proposes replacing the income tax with increased sales taxes, including sales taxes on services such as haircuts and auto repairs. What is your position on Amendment 5?
No. Vote no. It's also an awful bill. The Missouri government right now is telling people, oh yeah, it's going to eliminate income tax. Well, guess what, folks? We wouldn't need to have a statewide vote for us to eliminate income tax. The reason why they want to have the statewide vote is because they want to repeal the part of our Constitution that basically prevents the Missouri state government from increasing our sales tax without them first getting the permission of the people. And so Amendment 5 is essentially going to repeal that section and allow the Missouri state government to essentially set our sales tax to any level that they want in order to offset the losses of income tax. Many people have done studies on Amendment 5, and they found that only 20% of Missourians are actually going to receive a tax benefit from the passage of Amendment 5. And I think everyone can guess how much money you would have to make in Missouri to qualify for that tax relief. If you make zero income in Missouri, then you do not even pay an income tax. And so this is going to harm a lot of the people that are retired in Missouri and that have to actually go out and buy goods because they're going to be spending more money with increased sales tax. So, like I said, tell your friends and family members to vote no.
Okay, this is the Hancock Amendment you were referring to, I think. Yeah, Dan, how do you see Amendment 5?
It is absolutely a definitely no answer also. Because yes, you're going to get sales tax that's going to go on everything, and it could go up to high as 20% on haircuts, on nail salons, on auto repair, on the sale of a house. I mean, it can go on everything. So that's why most people are against this. Yes, I believe if you make over 300 and some $1,000, it might make a little sense. But at the end of the day, no, it does not, even for those people. So I don't know why they put this on here other than, to the point that Stacy had made, the legislature right now can get rid of the sales tax. I mean, get rid of the tax, income tax. The only reason is so they can raise the other taxes. And it needs to be raised to the tune of $8.9 billion in sales tax revenue. So you're going to get people really hurt, especially people that are retired, people that don't make don't make a minimum income, and now their taxes are going to go up horribly. A sales tax is a very regressive tax, and it hurts the poorest of us all. So absolutely no, and tell your friends.
Holmes, tell us what you think.
Lamar Hunt's father, H.L. Hunt, was the wealthiest man in the world back in the 1950s, and he made his money through drilling for oil. And Kansas City has been the recipient of that largesse through the Chiefs and Worlds and Oceans of Fun and Hunt Midwest and housing and caves and a lot of things has come here. But H.L. was a super right-wing conservative. And he would have these crazy ideas, and he would go around these hotels around the country and he'd lay out his ideas in little pamphlets. Well, nobody wanted to read them. So the guys who he was traveling with, his minions, they would pick them up and pretend like people had an interest in them. So my theory is somebody down Jefferson City goes down there periodically, has a ton of money, and they fund all these congressmen or these state reps and governors. They fund them, and everybody knows that it's a really, really bad idea. But to appease one super rich guy who's got some crazy idea, they're just going along with this. They took it to the voters. They know it's going to get crushed in August, and it's going to get crushed. And after it gets crushed, we'll have to move on to the next crazy initiative in a couple of years.
Bill?
Well, I hope it gets crushed, just like Holmes said. So I think that when it comes to this type of maneuver by the state, it's just another way to it's a risk that they can't take. And maybe Holmes is right. Maybe his theory is right because it makes no sense. The numbers don't add up. The math does not add up. So it's gonna not only I would have a hard time picturing 20% of the people that it would benefit. I think it's way less than that, but you can't even tell. The numbers are so hard to calculate. So these are all we're just theorizing. We just know it's bad. And when I think about what's bad, yes, it's bad for my mom who's on a fixed income. It's bad for people that are working families that are on fixed incomes. I mean, there's so many people that will suffer from this because of the potential for it to be a regressive tax, the way Dan referred to it. But the thing is, it's going to mean less dollars for mental health. It's going to mean less dollars for cities. It's going to mean less dollars for schools. It's going to mean less dollars for hospitals. This is less dollars for everyone and all the services that everyone provides. The state, the services they provide, everyone provides. It's going to mean less dollars. And the budget for the state right now is already as tight as it can possibly be. So, oh no.
Okay. Let's see. Stacy, we're going to start with you on this one. What role should Jackson County play in attracting businesses and creating well-paying jobs? If tax incentives are given, How will you ensure tax incentives produce measurable benefits for taxpayers?
Yes, I think the Jackson County executive has a duty to go out and try to find industries or businesses that they can attract into Jackson County to create new industries in Jackson Counties, to make more permanent jobs in Jackson County, and to essentially develop our areas. But one thing that I think is actually overlooked a lot is how our government has been lacking in helping out our small and local businesses in Jackson County to develop. Like, we have small and local businesses that have been here for decades that have not only, basically provided the uniqueness and the support to our residents, but our policies have hurt them over the years. Like in the 2025 property tax crisis towards the commercial business owners, a lot of small businesses in Jackson County actually had to close because they were unable to afford their property taxes. And so that's why, going back to the Jackson plan, I'm very much pro in supporting our small business community in Jackson County. And that also includes our local business community and incentivizing those businesses, as well as going outside of Jackson County and bringing in new industries to create more development and permanent jobs for our residents.
Bill, how do you see county's role in this, and in addition, the role of tax incentives?
Well, I have a really strong background in economic development, and the city of Lee Summit is known for one of the strongest economies. However, you have to start with making Jackson County a place where people want to be. And you have to diversify housing. You have to make you have to make it a place for everyone. And so we have to focus first on building a safer and healthier Jackson County. Then we have to work on the housing and expand the housing. And then we need to bring jobs. Other retail will follow. When you build safe, strong communities, other commercial will follow. So that's how we need to do it. Do you do incentives for big anchors? Yeah, you can do incentives for anchors, and I've been a part of many incentives, and there are a lot of different kinds of tools. It's not just TIFs. There's numerous tools to use. And you don't want to do too much. You want a rate of return. You want a rate of return for the county. But the thing is, most of the time, it's the cities that are making these decisions. And the cities need to make sure that there is a rate of return. They have responsibility to the schools, to the taxing jurisdictions like the libraries and the fire districts, to not give away all those tax dollars. There should be a return on the investment if you're going to use incentives. But I'm telling you, it starts with a safer, healthier Jackson County.
Thanks. Dan?
It does start with the safe Jackson County. And we are the number one thing to do in this would be to work with each of the cities, because Jackson County has one member on those boards and can get outvoted every single time. But if you start the education process at the beginning so that it makes sense to bring in an anchor tenant, yes, then some of those things make sense. But I've watched some of these in the past where they move a Walmart from one area of town over to another area of the town. And okay, it wasn't, why did you need to use tax incentives? Because now you just blighted the old Walmart area and the new one didn't even need it. So I'm for economic development. Jackson County needs to have that department again. Once Frank White got in there, he got rid of the economic development office. So we need to get a couple people in there. And we need to work with each of the city's mayors so that we all can be on the same page and we can attract different businesses to our area, because Jackson County is a wonderful, beautiful place. So let's get to work.
Thanks. Holmes?
Patience. We're in a wonderful county in a wonderful state in the middle of the United States. It's affordable to live here. It's one of the most affordable places to live in the United States. You can buy a house. You can live the American dream. We've got a police force. We've got nice colleges, community colleges. If you don't want to go to college, you can go. You can, find a trade. We have plenty of trades at MCC. But what you don't do is you don't give away the store. You don't do like we did with Cerner, where we have these tax deals, and then Oracle comes in, lays everybody off, and now we're stuck with empty buildings. You don't do like Harley Davidson did, where you come in and you have this TIF, and then you build this building, and then Harley moves overseas, and now we're stuck with warehouse jobs that pay $18 an hour instead of UAW jobs like Harley Davidson offered. So I find that these things that I've run for, everyone's in such a big hurry to hand out all of these tax deals. My family came here in 1838. We came from Virginia, and we've been here ever since, and we plan on being here for a long time. So I take the long view is maybe we won't get them this year, but maybe we'll get them in 5 years or 10 years, and we just don't need to give away our tax base to do this.
Thanks. So let's move on to a topic you guys just touched on. Bill, we'll start with you. What plans would you promote to make housing more affordable?
Well, from experience, I think I like the way you worded the question, which is more affordable. There are a lot of things that you can do to make homes more affordable. The way to streamline the process, at the city level, we streamlined the process so that it wasn't as expensive to build a home. We allowed for smaller lot widths so that you could, it would save on the cost so that you could hit the entry level of new construction could become lower. When it comes to the life cycle of homes, you need property for people to be able to move into whenever they get out of high school or college. They need a first time home buyer type product, raising a family type of product, retiring product, and then assisted living products. And when you talk about home affordability, this life cycle of homes, there are things that you can do to make them more affordable, and depending on which property it is. The one thing that's really tough is we have affordable homes, but people don't have they don't have something that's a little bit more affordable for them to move to. We have to make this life cycle of homes fluid so that it's working in the economy. And so there are ways to incentivize the very, very entry level or the lower income. I would be for that. I didn't get that type of thing done in Lee Summit, but I would love to champion something like that in the right place, the right location.
Thank you. Holmes?
I've been thinking about this recently, and we all know that housing is very unaffordable, not just here in Jackson County, but all across the country and really all across the world. When you travel across the world, you'll see 2-bedroom townhomes for $800,000-$900,000, and it's like that all over the place. I am optimistic, though, because here's the reason. You have the baby boomers, this enormous generation born between 1946 and 1964, and for some reason they love their home. And for some reason, these baby boomers love to live in these big 4,000 and 5,000 square foot homes, and they will not leave these homes. They will not leave their gardens and their pets, and they will die in their homes. And this is what's going to happen. So the oldest cohort of baby boomers turns 80 this year, and the average person lives to be 77. So these baby boomers will die and bequeath their homes to their children, and the children will either move in or they'll be sold. And this will mitigate this housing problem that we have. It's just a generational thing. Personally, I don't want to live in a 5,000 square foot house. Many baby boomers do. It's just a generational thing that this too will solve itself in the next few years.
Stacy?
Yes.
You're talking to a baby boomer here. So.
Oh, yeah. We have to remember that 10 years ago, we didn't have a housing affordability crisis. In Jackson County, houses were very affordable in 2016. And that's why I want to revert our attention back to the property tax crises that's happened in 2019, 2023, and 2025. I think that by allowing Tyler Technologies into our Jackson County government to conduct these mass appraisals and skyrocket our property values had the effect of making our house prices skyrocketing in this county, because I don't believe that our property values were increased by accident. I think that it was by design. As I stated before, Tyler Technologies is owned by BlackRock Corporation, which is a private equity firm that literally goes around and seizes single-family homes. In Jackson County alone, private equity firms have already purchased over 1,000 homes in this area where they hold them and they don't rent them out to people. They're holding them to sell them at top dollar value. And so we need to implement policies and changes to prevent this from happening and to protect our single family homes in Jackson County. And I believe that once we implement those steps, single family house prices will decrease in this county. It would in turn make it more affordable to live here.
Thank you. Dan, affordable housing.
I don't usually agree with things that happen in Washington, D.C., and especially right now. But one of the things they just passed is that we are that they made it so that investment hedge funds couldn't buy up all these properties, because yes, that is a part of the issue that we have right now, even in this area. So we need to limit the number that they can own. We need to get these houses back out on the market. My daughter is a single mother. She was living out in Olathe. We got her back in the Kansas City area. And I mean, heck, we looked for months and months and months and finally found a home, and it was 1,500 square foot. It was $300,000. I remember buying the house, for $80,000 to $100,000, our first home. This home happens to be 4 houses up from the home that my wife and I bought for that $90,000. So do we want the housing prices to go back to that level? No, probably not. Because people make an investment in things. But what we need to do is we need to build more houses, and that's by working with the mayors of each of the cities, because Jackson County does not build houses. We've rehabbed them. We've given them, out, as far as building futures program and some things to get blighted houses back on the market. So I will do that also.
Thank you. So Holmes, this one is about the old jail facility. What do you envision for the old jail?
Thank you for bringing that up. I believe it held 1,000 inmates, and I believe the new one holds 1,000 inmates. I don't know why they say it has all these problems. I'm sure it does, but and I know you could go in there and remodel it, and comparable cities like Milwaukee hold 2,500 inmates. We need to fix up the old one. If it's for nonviolent offenders, that's fine. This jail that was supposed to be fixed up during FIFA World Cup, let's keep that one too. Believe it or not, the top of the courthouse downtown Kansas City used to be a jail, and the top of the police department used to be a jail. I mean, I hate to sound hard, but there's a lot of crime here in Independence, and a lot of these folks get let off. There's a lot of knick-knack little crimes like shoplifting, and the police don't have any place to put these folks. I've brought this up time and time again. There are people around in East KC, in Eastern Jackson County, that have license plates that have been expired for years. And that if you pull those people over, they're going to have warrants out for their arrest, and they need to be taken off the street until they can get their act together. And I really do think that this will mitigate crime, and it is well within what we can do. It wouldn't cost that much money and is completely achievable with work from the sheriff.
Thank you. Bill, what do you think?
Well, it's interesting. I would have to say that when you look at, I'm in commercial real estate, and you never want to see anything be vacant, and you want to find the highest and best use is the term we talk about. And it's built, it's a specific build for a jail. And I know that I would like to talk to the sheriff's office and the sheriff about the fact that, do we have enough room? Do we need to refurbish this? What are the needs and such? Because trying to convert it to something else is going to be very expensive when it's very specifically built for certain usage. Now we've seen schools turned into apartment buildings in inner cities before, but it's still, even that is a big challenge. So you're going to have to lean into the sheriff's office. We're going to have to lean into our needs because maybe there is the need to utilize it in some capacity. I like to get creative. You don't want to demolish buildings. You don't want to do that type of thing because starting from the scratch up is from the ground up is even more expensive than refurbishing. So I would just have to get in there and talk to the stakeholders. You know.
Casey, what would you do with the old jail?
Yeah, from some of these answers, like it leads me to the question, has anybody been in the jail? Because I've been in that jail multiple times before it became vacant. And I was a huge advocate in building a new jail out in Jackson County or to get a new jail built because the Cherry jail was literally a humanitarian crisis. Okay, like we're dealing with broken infrastructure, pipes, mold issues, high security issues because of the failing infrastructure within the jail. It was a dangerous building. So many people, there were so many lawsuits that came from that jail. I had so many clients that suffered so much from the Cherry jail. I'm so glad that they're out of that Cherry jail because, like I said, it was a humanitarian crisis. Now, what's best usage of that space? I think we should maybe modify it to become a more community space. We need to have more areas that focus on mental health treatment, and that could also work with the municipal court and the Jackson County Court to provide services towards people who are incarcerated but have mental health issues. And so we can utilize that building to become more of a community center. But in terms of making it into a jail again, I'm 100% against that.
Okay, Dan.
That jail was a lawsuit waiting to happen, not only from the inmates, but also from the guards. It was very unsafe because you had to go up and down elevators in there. So yes, I was an advocate for the new jail. New jail actually, I think, has 1,100 people in it right now, so it's already over capacity. But this one should not be used for a jail again. My plan for that area, in talking with different stakeholders and others, is to look at it from a mental health standpoint. I would say that about 100% of the people that are being held in our detention facility, because it's just until they go to court, then they go to jail somewhere else after that. But they all have mental health and or drug issues. So let's catch them before they commit the crime. Let's put the mental health services in this building, whether we sell it to a nonprofit or something of that nature for $1, and get mental health, get drug addiction, get a job training facility there, fathering, other things to actually help the community and help these people get on the right path before they have to go to our detention facility and then end up in a prison somewhere. So I believe that we can do that in that area. It cost about $8 million to tear that building down, at least a few years ago. And I understand the land's worth about $8 million. So really, it's a wash. So I would much rather use what we have and let's bring mental health in there and for the houseless and others.
Well, this question is going to seem kind of interesting in that light of what you guys just said. This next question comes from someone who used to work at the Jackson County Jail. How do you plan to pay for the additional services necessary to provide, quote, justice with dignity, end quote? For our viewers who may not be familiar with this term, justice with dignity provides appropriate support services to incarcerated individuals to assist them in the transition to life on the outside. So, Stacy, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so in my Jackson plan, the J stands for justice system reform because I believe that crime can be reduced in Jackson County if we look through it through a lens of laborism, legalism, and modernization. And so when I say that, what I mean is we need to stop using the jails to punish people. We need to look at it through a lens of rehabilitation. These are people that basically fell through the system and now they're essentially in jail. And so we need to try to rehabilitate them so they won't, when they're let out, they won't commit crime again. One of the biggest reasons why a prior offender commits another crime when they get released from prison is because they're unable to find meaningful work after they're released from prison. And what meaningful work is a job that provides a meaningful wage that allows them to have access to housing, for food, and to have savings. And so as your next Jackson County executive, I'm going to be working with the community groups that are already doing the work to ensure that the jail not only has, it's not only just functional, but it's also working with the inmates to make sure that when they leave the jail, they're able to use the resources so they won't recommit crimes.
Thanks. Bill, how do you see that?
Well, I see it similarly. I think that, the likelihood of going back in, the only way to prevent that is to, as Stacy said, to work on rehabilitation, but also, giving them workforce skills and trying to set them up once they get out. Because once someone gets out of jail, they're faced with access that, they don't have the transportation, they don't have a job lined up. It is hard to get a job. We need programs that work with the private sector, the businesses, ahead of time, and have these set up so that there are opportunities. It's very similar to workforce development with the schools. The schools have finally started getting on board with career training at an earlier age and giving access. But that's to be quite honest, that's more in the suburbs. Inside the core, there are schools that don't have the workforce development where kids are prepared for opportunity, given access or property or opportunity once they graduate, and they're not given the skill set to walk into these jobs. The private sector has to get involved with them, and when you're talking about the jails, it's very similar. We have to find a way to meet them so that we are preparing them, and then we can give people a chance. Once they get out. So it's all hand in hand. We need to be working with schools on workforce development and with the jails on workforce development. And we also need to give, there need to be, like Stacy mentioned, they have to have a little bit of money to get started to be able to have success.
Dan, do you think that's a use for the jail?
The question again was, how do we afford it?
Yeah, how do you plan to pay for additional services?
Okay.
And maybe the jail plays into it. Yeah.
When that new jail was designed, it's when I was leaving, so some of it did change because it was originally 1,500 and ended up being 1,000. But we need all the wraparound services. We need to be able to do the job training. We need to be able to do the mental health, the drug addiction, and all the other things that are prevalent in that jail. And as I said, it's a holding cell until they go to court. Most of the people in our jail, the reason they're in there is because they can't be out on the street. They are violent. So we also need to partner with the cities. I know Kansas City, we could save them about $200 million, which is all of us because we're the taxpayers, by partnering with that jail and get all the wraparound services in one spot. They would have a different intake, and because theirs may stay for a day or two, ours are staying until they go to court, which could be a year, could be 10 years, or 7, I think is the longest someone's been in there. But then you can better utilize funds, and you can provide the services that are necessary for these people because they are people and they need to be treated that way. And in the end, it needs to be an education, and we can do that at our jail. It was built to have less expense because you don't have the vertical of it. But I would work with the sheriff's department, and the sheriff to make sure we can do that. The county executive is over buildings. So therefore that building is in the purview of the county executive and not the sheriff.
Thank you. Let's do one more question. This has always been popular with our forum guests, and we're going to start with Bill. What question do you wish I'd asked, and how would you have answered it?
what question do I wish you have asked, and then answer it. Okay. Well, my three things, I guess I would say what would be a big factor that will help change things at the county that we don't talk about in these forums. And I talk a lot about safety. Well, first off, we all talk about property taxes, right? That's what we always talk about. We got to fix the property tax fiasco. But then I always talk about safety, and so do the other candidates. And then we talk sometimes about economic development and such. So those are some of the top. But none of this happens without a culture change. None of this happens without a culture change. The county has to rebuild trust. The county needs to rebuild confidence. The county needs to invite people to the table and listen. And in the past, it just has not happened. And everyone's over the county. Everyone's frustrated with the county. Everyone from citizens to stakeholders to other institutions and other jurisdictions. And we've got to rebuild that culture. That is what has to happen first, so that we can get everybody to agree upon a path, so that we can build stronger, safer, healthier communities, so that we then later on, then we can start talking about real economic development, bringing jobs to the county. These are the things that we don't, as candidates, I appreciate the question, the depth of some of these questions, because we don't get to answer those types of questions. We have to change the culture.
Thank you. Dan, what would have been your favorite question and your answer to it?
I would say, kind of along those same lines, is this is for a very influential position in the county. I mean, it is the county executive, it is the CEO. And out in the general public right now, there doesn't seem to be any interest in it. And it's because Jackson County's done so poorly and people are just done with it. And so we need to get Jackson County back to what Jackson County does. But we need, when they do those things, they need to be done correctly. You shouldn't have to stand in a 4-hour line to go get a tax receipt in Independence Courthouse. You shouldn't have to stand in lines downtown. We need to hire the correct people. We need to bring these services back that the county has just kind of let everything go. And the biggest part of that is because they're not listening. They're not listening to the voters. They're not listening to the taxpayer. The county executive wasn't even listening to the legislature. So we need to empower the legislature. We need to work together, and we need to provide the basic services and fix this broken system that we have right now.
Thanks. Holmes?
The question I wish you'd ask is who are your top 5 contributors to your political campaign, and what are they expecting to get from you if you get elected as Jackson County executive? If they're builders, are they looking for TIFs? Are they looking for preferential treatment? Are they looking for high-paying jobs for their employees? There has to be some reason that these people are giving money to your campaign. Maybe they're just some benevolent do-gooder who makes munificent contributions. But that would have been a fantastic question, Sandy.
Thank you. Stacy?
Yes, my question would have been, what is your vision of Jackson County in the next 20 years? Like, we all know what the problems are in Jackson County now, but what are you actually building towards or want Jackson County to become in the next 20 years? That is why I've been advocating for now over 6 years my Jackson plan, which is my plan to reform and modernize our Jackson County government. So we're not just competitive statewide, but we're competitive nationwide. And we have to come to the reality that Jackson County government right now, our technological systems are very outdated. We do not have a countywide public transportation system, and it's 2026. We had a countywide public transportation system in the 1950s that we got rid of for some reason. We're not going to go back to that. But these issues, they need to be resolved. We have to start, well, we first have to fix the issues of Jackson County, but then we have to build Jackson County so that we can be competitive with these other counties and that we can create the best government that will support our residents' needs in the future. And that is what I'm going to do as your next Jackson County executive.
Thank you. So we're going to move into closing remarks now. And I want to really personally thank all of you for joining us. In addition, we'd like to thank you that you share the League's website with your voters and encourage all citizens to show up on Election Day, which I'm sure you have done, and exercise their right to vote. Remember to go to our website for the YouTube when it's up here in a couple of days. So 2 minutes for closing remarks. And Dan, we're going to start with you.
Okay. I'm Dan Tarwater, and I am here to say that I can and will do the best job possible for Jackson County as your next county executive. We need to restore trust in Jackson County. We need to do, yes, the full-blown audit of the county. Back when I was a legislator, the legislature is the one that called in the state auditor to do this. So yes, that needs to be done again. The reason for it now is because I don't think anyone knows how much money is in Jackson County or not in Jackson County, because I keep hearing a number of different figures that are out there and none of them are the same. So let's start this new era on good footing. Let's find out where we are financially. Let's restore the trust with the voters. Yes, on the property tax things, we definitely need to restore trust there by getting that whole department needs to be reformed. We need a system that will work. The system that we have right now doesn't even work with the collection system. So they're having to input things twice. We need to work smarter, not harder. And we can do that. We can work on transportation issues. We can work on all those other things. But the job day one is to get the county fixed. And yes, we can do that. And we can do it in a number of different ways. But we need to be ready on day one to go in there and fix these things. And I am the person to do that. I look forward to working for the taxpayer. I look forward to listening to everybody in Jackson County. And I look forward to hiring the best qualified people for each of these positions so that those areas can run on their own, and we can move toward updating all of our systems. The courthouse steps, it's the simplest thing in the world. They've been crumbling. The doors have been closed for 10 years. Let's open it up again.
Holmes, your closing remarks.
Elected financial analyst to analyze Jackson County's finances. I have the background and the credentials to do many of these jobs. I've heard about assessors. I've heard about auditors. You can get a 2-for-1 deal with me. You can elect me, pay me the regular salary, and I'll do these jobs. I'll sit in there. I will crunch numbers with our in-house accountants and our accounts payable and receivable people until we fix this problems. I've done it before. It's not fun work. It's long hours. It's a lot of numbers. But also you have to make sure that you're on the same team with your candidate for county executive. Are you for TIFs or not TIFs? We've got candidates who are for and against. Are you for the taxpayer or are you for the tax users like the schools? You can't please both. Everyone says you can make both happy. You probably can't. I'm with the taxpayer. Do you want to move the stadiums or do you want to keep them where they are? I want to keep them where they are. Do you even mention crime? A lot of politicians in Jackson County and Kansas City don't like to even acknowledge the fact that we are a high crime area. I acknowledge it. I want to hit it head on, and I want to take the nasty steps of fixing these problems. It certainly affects us here in Independence, Missouri, as it does in many of the suburbs and Kansas City. And most of all, I haven't taken money from people who want to do anything that I'm against. Moving stadiums, TIFs, urban blight, endless apartments and endless building. And I see this huge amount of overbuilding in Jackson County and these big developers dumping hundreds of thousands of dollars into this campaign. And just ask yourself, where is all this money coming from and why?
Thanks. Stacy.
Yeah, so well, first I want to say thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and asking us these really great questions. I want to remind everyone that I ran for Jackson County Executive in 2022, and that's because I realized in 2019 the state of crisis that our Jackson County government was in. And when I realized that no one was going to stand up for the community and challenge Frank White and prevent another property tax crisis from happening in 2023, I decided that I was going to stand up and run against him. And even though I unfortunately lost a Democratic primary by 4 percentage points, I'm running again to truly reform and modernize the Jackson County government so it works for our residents' needs and that we get out the dysfunction in our government that a lot of people are currently profiting from. I'm going to just go over a quick history of our county executives just to clarify this point. We had Frank White, who was recalled. We had Mike Sanders, who before Mike Sanders was county executive, he was a Jackson County prosecutor. He went to prison. And then we had Catherine Shields, who before she was county executive, she was a city councilwoman, and she was literally indicted by the FBI while she was Jackson County executive. We haven't had an efficient, and an effective county executive for decades. And I, as your next Jackson County executive, will change that because I truly and sincerely mean that I will reform and modernize the Jackson County government so that it works for our residents' needs. So thank you again for having us here today. If your listeners want to learn more about me, I'm on all social media platforms at Stacy Lake MO, and my website is www.jacksoncountyexecutive.com.
Thank you. Bill, it's your to close.
All right, thank you. Okay, again, thank you as well. My name's Bill Baird. As you've heard today, I want to go to the county and use my proven leadership and executive abilities to change the county. I was the two-term mayor of the city of Lee Summit, where I helped build one of the safest cities in Missouri. So I want to go to the county and strengthen emergency services, expand mental health resources, and support substance abuse and crime prevention. Safe cities are strong cities, and strong cities create opportunities. So I want to use my abilities as a mayor to build one of the strongest economic hubs in Missouri to take to the county so that we can diversify housing, so that we can do mixed use developments, so that we can bring jobs, quality jobs, attract quality employers. It goes right back to what I talked about when I said we want to make Jackson County a place where people want to be, where employers want to be, where businesses want to be, where citizens want to be. And I think the key that I mentioned also in the forum tonight is changing the culture. You know, I was a school board member where I fought for kids and I fought for teachers and I fought for the diversity of our teachers with regard to reflecting the diversity of our students. I got to the city of Lee Summit and I championed the diversity of all of our boards and commissions, not just people of color, but also women. This is the League of Women Voters. I know. I partnered with United We to diversify our boards and commissions. You look at our city council now, we have 7 women and two and 1 man on the council. We look at the school board, we have lots of women and people of color. I helped change the culture in Lee Summit. I helped change the path of becoming a more inclusive, welcoming community and got people engaged. And I want to take that to the county.
Thank you very much. Again, sincere thanks to all of you for being here tonight and giving really thoughtful answers. I'm going to go ahead and turn this back over to Anitra.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you, candidates. And thank you, audience, for your interest in the August 4th election. A recording of this forum will be available on the League's website, lwvkc.org. Please take a moment to share our forums with your Facebook, Nextdoor, and other social media channels. Send the link to your mother-in-law so she can watch you in action. And remember, for voting and candidate information, visit lwvkc.org and vote411.org. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.